Welcome, everybody, back to the Popcast, where faith meets real life, where we sit down at the table and we have a conversation. We do not sugarcoat it here, and we always keep it Christ-centered. Today, I got a special guest with me, a man who has laid his life down for people, for the city of Phoenix, for the valley as a whole, a man who was with Glendale PD, for 30 plus years and is now the owner and operator of Tax Safe Arizona, that specializes in gun training, firearms training. And I have here today with me Mr. Dave Turley.
Welcome.
Thank you for being with us.
Good morning,
sir.
Eli.
Yeah, your resume is impressive, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know we shared a little bit a couple minutes ago. You were talking about you weren't just a cop, and I don't want to minimize that because every cop lays his life down on that line for the people that they serve. But you talked about you were a sergeant at one point. You were head of a gangs unit. Let me let you tell the story because I think you would share it a lot better than I would. So
okay,
yeah.
So to give a little perspective, when I share these stories about the law enforcement component,
Yeah.
we came from a culture where we were quiet professionals.
Yeah.
So the cooler your job got, the less you talked.
Sure.
And it was all about humility.
Yeah.
And so we policed each other actively to make sure everybody stayed focused and humble. So when I tell those stories, I tell them to honor the detectives that are still working, fugitives and gangs.
Sure.
And in my mind, those stories are worth telling because it shows people how hard these detectives work behind the scenes to apprehend violent predators.
Yeah.
So I just like to get that out there. The stories aren't about me per se.
Yes, sir.
But when I'm sharing on behalf of my teammates.
Yes, sir.
Is that cool?
No, that's 100% good. I think you hit it nail on the head. Myself, I've never been in law enforcement. There's people that have never been in law enforcement that are going to listen to this podcast here.
Awesome.
And you're gonna give a different perspective, and we love that because we talked a little bit throughout your career, you were able to see Christ popping up throughout your career.
Absolutely.
And laying your life down on that line is not a easy task. It's a noble task, one that we want to honor for you and everybody that is still working those roles and everybody who has worked through those roles. But as you shared, being on the other side of that line that, we're looking from the outside looking in, you have a different perspective, of it.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
So it's ironic when I hear people say that. I appreciate it, and it makes me think about my brothers and sisters, but that's all I know from when I was a 22-year-old young man.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a strange journey.
Sure.
Sure.
But that's life, and that's
Yeah.
growth, is the journey, and trying to stay as grounded as we possibly can, trying to stay
Amen.
Christ-centered as we possibly can, even through, some people may have a desk job, some people may be out on the road, and some people may still be actively laying their life on the line. So let's dive into it, sir. Again,
Sure.
You have a wealth of experience and wisdom that you've come from. It didn't always, your resume obviously is your resume, your experience is your experience, but let's go back to the beginning and who you are, and you said you had a relationship with God just a little bit, you do remember your mom raising you. I think you said Lutheran is what it was, and praying over you, so it sounded like the foundation of Christ was there at least from the beginning.
Yeah, so I was adopted. A lot of people don't know that. It's kind of an interesting story. But I was brought out of one culture into another culture, and the folks that raised me were like from Oklahoma. We called them Okies. They were true Okies. And so that's how I kind of grew up with those country folk.
Yeah.
And my mom was a single mother.
Yeah.
She was like 43 already when she adopted me. So I always wondered growing up, why was my mom like 10 to 15 years older than all my friends' moms?
Sure.
that was sketchy. I always knew something was going on, but I didn't learn the story until much later.
Okay.
But I remember she was a single mom to me, and then I had a set of grandparents that were amazing.
Yeah.
They worked out of state a lot, so I would spend summers with them. But basically, it was my mom and I growing up.
Yeah.
And I remember we would pray. I grew up in South Phoenix,
Okay.
and South Phoenix was a little bit of a rough area.
Sure.
And I've been away from there for quite some time, but we were alone a lot.
Yeah.
So she would teach me to pray, and we had a regular relationship with the Lord.
Sure.
And that was just part of my upbringing, but it wasn't anything organized.
Yeah.
We didn't go to a specific church that I remembered.
Yeah. Yeah. But even going back to the early Bible days, the first churches were in the home. They
Yeah.
were with moms, they were with dads, they were with the community coming together. So even though you guys may have not exited to a building, you were still having church, because we are the
Yeah.
church, is where it comes. So, and then again, so that you grew up here in the Valley, what about your teenagers? What really led you into the area of law enforcement?
I grew up, when we moved out of South Phoenix, I was in the 8th grade, and I grew up, it was a drastic change.
Yeah.
I grew into a country lifestyle.
Okay.
So we moved out west to the area of like 125th Avenue and Lower Buckeye down in South Avondale.
Okay.
And I became a cowboy. So we rode horses, we shot guns, rode bulls, I broke horses. That was a fun lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I started learning as a teenager. You had certain codes, which it became interesting later on when I went to work as a cop in that small town. I ended up contacting several people that I went to school with all the way back to 8th grade. And I knew when I was about 19 years old, I remember the Marine barracks in Beirut was bombed. Wow. And like 241 Marines were killed, and there was some soldiers and some civilians that were killed. And I remember talking to a friend of mine at the time, my best friend, and I said, we have to do something to get involved. We need to do an action job. So thought about signing up for the Marine Corps, but the hostilities came to an end and there were no wars.
Okay.
There was no fighting.
Yeah.
So I envisioned a 4-year hitch of like filling sandbags. That wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
So my friend said, what about law enforcement?
Yeah.
And he became a detention officer for Maricopa County, working in the jail. And for a couple of country boy cowboys, that was a big change.
Sure.
And then I got into a local police department. I remember after school, I would take the bus to one of my friends' houses, and we would play football. They had some property. Like I said, it was like a Western or a country atmosphere. So they had a big pasture in the backyard, and we played football. And it was a better part of town than where I lived.
Sure.
So my friend and I would get off the bus and hang out with these kids until after dinner time. And one day we were going through his kitchen, and I saw a bag, like a gym bag, and it had a baton on it. And I asked my buddy, hey, what's that? And he said, oh, that's my mom's. She's a police officer. And I thought, what in the world? Wow. So that just kind of stuck in my mind for some reason.
Yeah.
And a few months later, I had an opportunity to talk with her, and she introduced me to a recruiter at Avondale PD, who later on became my mentor. So I remember, I think I was about 19 or 20.
Yeah.
I go into the police department, and there sits this man, and he started late in his career.
Yeah.
He was a lineman for SRP,
but
he was 50 when he started law enforcement.
Wow.
But he had just been out of the academy. He was the sort of poster guy for the PD at that time. But I remember looking across the desk like you and I are, and his uniform was starched. And that was from the old days. We had everything shined.
Sure.
His badge was so shiny, like the state seal and everything was buffed out of it.
Yeah.
His his sleeves were tight and he was built.
Yeah.
And I remember looking over on his uniform shirt and I saw a shooting pistol expert pin. And I was taken. I'm like, wow, I have to be like this guy.
Yeah.
This is something.
Yeah.
So I never looked back. I became a reserve. I got hired as a reserve in September 11th of 1989.
Wow.
And I was just a kid.
Yeah.
So I went through the academy and graduated, and I did a few months more as a reserve, and then they picked me up full time.
Yeah.
So I was very young when I started, and what a change that was.
Yeah.
For example, even though where I was from, Avondale was a small town,
Yeah.
we would leave we had 25 acres in a rural area, but we would go to town and we would take certain streets. People are creatures of habit, right?
Sure.
I didn't have any idea when I became a police officer, you go one block to the right or to the left, and you're in drug neighborhoods, gang neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I had no idea that world even existed.
Yeah.
I was very naive.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I went to a small agency to start with. I probably wasn't mature enough for a larger city. So that was kind of an awakening. And I did a couple of years on patrol there.
Yeah.
Became a field training officer.
Nice.
And then they approached me to test out for the SWAT team.
Yeah.
And I tested for SWAT and got on there, still very young. And I did a few years there and tested for sergeant.
Yeah.
So I took over a squad of detectives. We were hardworking crime fighters.
Yeah.
We did all of it. We did homicide investigations, drug investigations.
Yeah.
Back in those days when the 90s started, the gang culture
Yeah.
really took off,
Yeah, it
right?
did.
So those were high times for law enforcement
Yeah.
with the rise of all the street gangs. So I became a court certified expert in Hispanic street gangs. That was my specialty, and a little bit of the white supremacist gangs. And so I realized my passion then, or my goal then immediately, was to go to a full-time gang squad.
Yeah.
Where we just chase bad guys. It was just cops and robbers. Yeah. The city of Glendale, the largest city in the West Valley, they had a full-time gang unit. And so I tested. It was very competitive. I remember when I tested for Glendale, there was about 300 people from New York, Illinois, all over the country.
Wow.
There was about 300 people at a elementary school where we took our written test.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get in.
Yeah.
I think I scored a 97 on my written, which earned me an interview.
Wow.
So I got into Glendale after working about 8 years at Avondale. So I was in a unique situation because my training officer had about 3 years on, and I had 8, and I was a sergeant and a detective. I'd worked homicides, and I ran a small SWAT team. So I had a lot of responsibility. But in police work, when you make a lateral move, you start over.
Okay.
So it's not about where you've been.
Yeah.
It's about what you bring to the table now, right?
Yeah.
So that's a reoccurring theme
Yeah.
my whole life. So
Was that a humbling experience?
it was humbling, but I was prepared for it.
Okay.
So I knew the common wisdom there was we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk.
There you go.
And my trainer, we were working graveyard shift. I started all over, you know.
Yeah.
My trainer would ask me, hey, tell me some stories. What did you do, you know, here and there? And I said, no, sir, I'm here to learn from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm here to learn the mean streets of Glendale. It was a big city.
Yeah.
And the resources were incredible. But there was it's a funny kind of cop story. When I was in field training, you don't speak much when you're the trainee. And we went to a routine call, and not to tell a dark story, but we went to a routine call in law enforcement. It was a dead body call. And we were at a mobile home park on the west side of Glendale. And the sergeant was there, and my training officer, and me, the rookie. And I had as much time on as the sergeant did. So he's looking at the scene, and he says, well, I guess I'll have to call the medical examiner's office. Let me get a hold of dispatch and get the number. And I, without thinking, I blurted out, "It's 5:06, 11:38." And he looked at me and he's like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
So yeah, I worked there. We were able to get on within a couple of years. I became a firearms instructor there because of my previous experience on a tactical unit.
Yeah.
And then I went to the full-time gang squad.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for a few years, and we started to get a reputation. Like, the homicide detectives would do an interview, and because my gang detectives and I worked the evening shift, we're not wearing a shirt and tie. We're driving the flat top Crown Victorias. We wore the black BDUs. We're nighttime detectives, crime fighters. They would do an interview with a drive-by shooting or something, and somebody would throw out a street name, and they'd say something about, like, for example, Spider. He says he was with Spider. We're looking for Spider. Do you guys know who that is? And our job was to talk to all the gangsters all the time, and we're like, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's from, the 5-2 VCP neighborhood. So they'd say, well, go pick him up. And so we'd go out and pick them up safely. We were a little older. By that time, I was seasoned, so I was a mature cop. I wasn't a young rookie.
Yeah.
And it's always about safety.
Yeah.
Take a minute, breathe. So we got a reputation of being kind of the hit squad. We'd bring in these people for the interviews, and a couple of years later, after doing that, the chief decided, I want to make a full-time fugitive apprehension team. And my partner and I, Kevin, started that squad. Wow. And they took a squad of narcs at the time, and they told them, you can either go back to patrol or you can join this newfangled fugitive unit / gangs. But, your squad is no more, so we'd like you to join this. So we inherited a boss and like 4 more detectives. Yeah. And we had a squad now of like eight people and a sergeant. And it was a blessing because law enforcement, there's always a lot of change. Yeah. Right? But we were together, this entire team, for the next probably 12 years. Wow. No one promoted. Yeah. No one left the unit. Yeah. On your evaluations, you always had to get exceed ratings instead of meet standards. Yeah. And you had to earn that spot every day. Yeah. So that kind of started that culture. Yeah. Of being a quiet professional. So we started that. We started cutting our teeth, learning tactics and techniques for fugitive apprehension, which led to a lot of undercover work. Okay. And a few years later, our chief got a call from the U.S. Marshal for the District of Arizona. Yeah. And he said, I want to start a violent offender apprehension team, and I want to have fugitive detectives from all over the state to join this, and I want you to send one of your detectives. And at the time, I said, no one left our squad. We'd always been together. Yeah. And the sergeant told us, hey, the chief is serious. Someone's going to have to go to this team. Yeah. And nobody would volunteer, so he called us in one at a time, and he would say, like, Jimmy, tell me who I should send. Yeah. And Jimmy would say, well, I'm a Spanish speaker, but I think you should keep so-and-so here. Boss, you should send me. Yeah. So that, who shall I send? Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then he called me in, and he's like, who should I send? And I said, well, one of the new guys is, he had a new baby at home, and he needed the stability. He was on SWAT, so he was on call a lot. I said, boss, I think you should send me. Yeah. And every member of our team, one-on-one, told him the same thing. Yeah. And he threw his hands up. He's like, I can't decide. The chief is just going to have to force me to do it. Yeah. Well, I was very blessed to have some contract jobs that I worked down in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. And that led to a job that I actually worked in the Philippines. Oh, wow. Minor trafficking, sex trafficking job. So I had a taste of sort of global. Yeah. And I told my wife, I think I want to do this task force. Yeah. I don't know about the feds. I don't know what that's like, but I think I want to try this. Yeah. Because I knew there was something bigger than my home agency. Yeah. So one day I was headed out on surveillance, and I had my lunchbox, my radio, and I stopped into my boss's office, and it's like a scene from a cop show. He's at his desk, and I said, hey, Sarge. He goes, yeah. And I said, that task force slot, I'll take that. Yeah. and you would thought that I had sacrificed myself on the cross. You know, they
Yeah.
called a meeting and everybody's like, Turley volunteered to go.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was
Yeah.
exciting and it was a whole new world.
Yeah.
And I reported to a secret offsite and I met my partners that were from all different agencies.
Yeah.
And about 3 years later, my entire team followed suit.
Oh wow.
So the U.S. Marshals Service absorbed all the Glendale detectives, and they started a brand new building, and the task force just grew.
Wow.
And it was like a Justice League of like, we had fugitive specialists from Department of the Corrections,
Yeah. Yeah.
adult probation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, local police departments, county sheriff, DPS, highway patrol,
Wow.
everybody under one roof.
Yeah.
The resources were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot. That's an impressive just span of time. I do want to ask you this though. With all of that, you seeing things like investigations as far as child trafficking, drugs, gangs, everything that you've gone through. The man that I see, because I've only known you just for a short period of time, is not a man who almost, and I'll word it this way, has been through the grinder.
Yeah.
But the man that you are today is you're a gentleman, you know. You're when we talk, you're a man's man, you know, professional, kind to everybody who you interact with. That I see when I talk to people here at Pop, you know, it's nothing but great things to say about you. So that being
Thank you.
said,
That's nice.
absolutely. That being said, coming from seeing almost the worst of people and seeing almost the worst of life, how did you maintain being grounded to who you are today? Because as we go through just people in general, people call them, you know, traumatic experiences, you know, and some people kind of maybe overemphasize that. I don't want to belittle anybody's experiences, but not everybody's walking up on a dead body.
Right.
And seeing that not everybody is walking up on maybe some victims of sex trafficking,
Yeah.
and they have to either calm that individual down, or they see the fear in somebody's eyes who went through a serious traumatic event. So you're seeing all that, you're taking that in. The enemy can come and use that and really just send people, because I'm sure you've seen some of the more sad stories. You know, I read a statistic one time that the suicide rates in the two professionals, the highest suicide rates in professionals are law enforcement and pastors, because they see so much, they take on so much, they realize so much, and then unfortunately some people get to the point where they do take their own life. You know, so how did you maintain just being grounded? Was it your foundation where your mother implanted Christ, you know, inside of you and praying? What was that?
Definitely started with my mother, Joanne. I have to give her credit for that. She was a wonderful woman, a humble servant of God. She told me when I was a kid, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you, because I get a chance to honor her by telling this. Here's the advice I got as a young buck when I was a teenager out in the West Valley, leading that country lifestyle. We were like Bo and Luke Duke, you know, the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
She said, if you ever steal anything or hurt a woman, I won't come get you out of jail. Don't bother calling me, or you'll be dead to me. And she said, if the cops ever come here looking for you, not only will I give you up, but I'll know that you were the ringleader. So she took away any future excuses.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what a proactive approach, right? So she held me accountable, even though it was just a young son and a single mother. She held me accountable and taught me how to be a man that way. And it was always about accountability. And that's what I crave today.
Yeah.
But I'll go back on a story. I think it's time for a war story. You mentioned a sad story. So when I was very young, this touches on what you're describing. So this is how things started to change for me. I was very young and I was working swing shift on patrol
Mm-hmm.
at my original agency. There was a young man that worked for the city, and he was in maintenance on the building.
Okay.
And he was a very cool dude. He was from the neighborhood just like me.
Sure.
And I gravitate towards just simple folks.
Sure.
And so we would talk all the time, and I always made eye contact and talked with him. I would see him every day. Wonderful guy, quietly doing his job. And I'm out on patrol one evening. It was right after dinner time, and I get a call. It's a medical call for a person not breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So I go inside the house in a hurry. I have my ambu bag, which is a plastic inflatable bag with a mask that you use to help people breathe.
Yeah.
And there was a older male on the bed that had a heart attack. Long story short is he was not responsive. So I began CPR, and I went into just work mode, and he didn't make it. And I watched him. Two things happened. I watched and I'm sorry to be very graphic. I'll try to clean it up. And
You're good.
I'm sorry about a dark story.
You're good.
But I watched him. I watched his soul leave his body.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking in his eyes, straddling him, doing chest compressions, and what we just taught here. So when I teach these classes, those are the memories that come back.
Yeah.
And I apologize. Some of these
good.
things trigger.
Take your time, brother. You are more than good.
So you never know when that's going to come up. So I'm doing compressions, and it was terrifying and humbling because I watched his spirit leave.
Yeah.
And I watched it right in his eyes, and I thought, okay, that's his soul just went somewhere. I just saw this happen.
Yeah.
And it was fear for the Lord, right? So I couldn't do anymore, and I stopped and told the wife. It was very sad. They'd been together forever, and I went to tell her, I'm sorry, I did all I could, and I see the guy from work. That was his dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So that changes you.
Yeah. Take your time, brother. Take your time.
But yeah, after seeing that, you have a different view on life because you're like, okay, the Lord is all around me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I began to be very aware that I better step right and do right by people because I'll be judged.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's an area that, especially the current climate of the country, is that every cop bad, every cop bad. Every cop is not bad.
Right.
There's some bad apples in every profession. I think we can all be honest with that. But they don't see moments like these stories.
Yeah.
Where maybe EMT hadn't come yet, and it's just you, the cop, trying to save someone's life. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was there an area or a time where you're like, I want to be a cop to help people, because you don't stand on that line if you don't want to help people.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I think a lot of officers maybe lose track of that. That's absolutely why. I mean, in my persona, that was what being a man was. You protected people, and you were a service to your people. And ironically, not to skip ahead, but years later, when I was at Glendale, we had in the mid 90s to late 90s very violent summers with the gangbangers.
Yeah.
And drive-by shootings, and there was a chronology that you could set your watch by. Their first arrest was usually when they were 14, truancy, marijuana.
Yeah.
Mom was either MIA and wasn't a very good mom and role model, whatever you want to say, and she was gone. So they're running the streets, and they get picked up by this gang because there's no other options.
Yeah.
Not to make an excuse for him, but it's true.
Yeah.
Or dad was always gone. In every one of these families, there was never a father.
Yeah.
And so by 15, they had their first school fight marijuana arrest, and then by 16 they're stealing a car, and then not long after they'll be involved in a drive-by shooting.
Wow.
They'll usually sit in the car and participate, and then they graduate up to be a shooter,
Yeah.
and then they'll end up taking their first prison hitch,
Yeah.
which really sets the clock backwards on their life.
Yeah.
And then later on, when they have grown up, they have a sweetheart, they want to grow out of that, they're not allowed to just walk away from that,
Yeah.
because now they're inked up and they are very entrenched in that gang culture. But my point is, there's not much difference from a young police officer or U.S. Marine and a young gangster.
Really?
They each have a code, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And they each represent something, and they believe that with all of their heart,
Yeah.
and it's a sense of belonging,
Yeah.
and it checks the warrior box for them.
Mm.
And the only difference is a set of beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fine line when you talk about like that warrior spirit of a male. If we don't harness that very early,
Yeah.
that's the way that they'll go.
Yeah. Yeah. The enemy will twist that.
And if I could look back on that, the wisdom I learned from my career is, if we could mentor
Yeah.
and catch them early, it straight up tactics.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed chasing them,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed the shenanigans, right? But the problem is, my enemy, there's only one me. I'm an old guy now.
Yeah.
And the energy and the resources we spend on that criminal behavior,
Yeah.
what if we were to mentor them at a young age? I know that's kind of maybe a liberal thought or whatever, but we could forego all that stuff,
Yeah.
all the suffering, not to mention the victims of violent crime.
Yeah.
So there was one family in this whole grid that we worked of Hispanic street gangs. There was one family where there was two young boys in high school, and I'm proud to say I never met them
Really?
until much later on, and it was at some community function. But it was ironic because they were the only ones that had a dad.
Yeah.
He took them camping.
Yeah.
He threatened them, and he would regulate
Yeah.
if
yeah.
he had to.
Yeah.
So very small infractions in the home, they grew up under his influence.
Yeah.
The kids, every other kid in that whole city grid, 1 mile by 1 mile, and there were county housing projects, so there was a lot of kids.
Yeah.
If they didn't have a dad at home, it was, forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a father is so crucial. Being a present father is so crucial. And we can go down this rabbit hole because I'm passionate, about it. I see that you have the passion for it,
Yeah.
As well. Because at the end of the day, whether you are chasing after bad guys or wanting to mentor young men, the goal is better.
Yeah.
The goal is, let's make the community better. Let's make people better. If starting at an early age mentoring, let's make them better.
Yeah.
Because we all can't control. We can't control where we come from. We can't control what we started. It's not until you get to your, late teens or adulthood where you can start making, those decisions for yourself. But unless you're just rebellious at 8 years old, it's
Right.
we don't want that. But to that point, there are people out there, there are families, there are kids out there that are fatherless. And
Yeah.
that is huge. And that's gone for generations now, because you figure we're
Yeah.
in Gen Alpha now. So before that was Gen Z, then Millennial, then Gen X, then Boomer. And that's really where the cusp of that father started to become removed from the home, is that Boomer X generation, and it's just gotten progressively worse. But we see the difference in culture, we see the difference in values, we see the difference in just the quality of man. And I'm not belittling people right now. This is just a real statistic. This is just the reality of it, and you see it, I'm sure, from the law enforcement standpoint, where prisons and jails are more flooded now than they were 50 years ago, 60 years ago. There's a huge swing, and it always comes back to that one statistic. Where was the dad at
Exactly.
early on? Because
And I started to notice, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
You made a good point. I put these kids in prison for their first drive-by shooting.
Yeah.
And my viewpoint was, man, we're doing the Lord's work. It was just a big adrenaline-fueled
yeah,
several year time stretch, right? But then they would get out,
Yeah.
and I would watch them try to reintegrate. Now they have a sweetheart. They want to get a job. And I started watching these same young men trying to do right.
Yeah.
And I saw my opponent, I don't want to say my enemy because they weren't my enemy,
Sure.
but my opponent, my nemesis, I'm watching these guys try to reintegrate, and I felt bad.
Yeah.
And it became it was very enlightening for me to see the other side, the human cost.
Yeah.
And I even wanted to help them integrate, but a lot of times they were preyed on by the same gangs they tried to leave.
Yeah.
But it was a wound, like you just said very well. Go rewind it. Sorry about that. You go rewind it, and there was a wound that was created when that father left, whatever those circumstances were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether he was a deadbeat or he was killed or he was in prison. I've seen all those different things, or just they left.
Yeah. Yeah.
They go to the store and never come back. But it's the same result. So I see that a lot now, and my kids are grown, but I have my 3 grandchildren that live with me.
Yeah.
And guess what? Raising kids is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easier to go to the range and hang out with the fellas and
Yeah.
let your hair down. But being home and reading stories and making eye contact
Yeah.
and going to ball games
Yeah.
after you just drove an hour here
Yeah.
and then an hour home,
Yeah.
that's hard work.
It is hard work.
But the tribe requires that. And if we don't do it, who's going to, right?
Yeah. Somebody's got to step up.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on this podcast before, and I'm remembering something that I said, that if men don't deal with themselves, whatever that looks like. So whether that's you had a rough day at work and you're driving home, between the time that you leave that job and the time that you get home, if you don't deal with yourself to be able to show up fully for the home, your home is going to be just as rocky as, let's say, the work. Yeah. And there's such a dynamic that men set the tone in the home when it comes to discipline. The mom has an equal impact as well to that. It's different, but if either parent, mom or dad, come home from work and you're chaotic, or you're bringing that with you, and you're because you're going from maybe one hard job to another, and especially to something that's an extreme, that's say a law enforcement, where you are seeing the worst of the worst of evil out there. I don't want to say the worst of the worst of people, because it's just the enemy and evil influencing the people. Yeah. So you're seeing the worst of the evil in this world, and then you're going home and you're seeing innocence.
And for me personally, it starts with my voice.
Okay.
So as soon as I walk in, without realizing, my tone of voice will set the stage.
Yeah.
Because females, my daughter, my wife, my adult daughter that's home with the grandchildren,
Yeah.
they're very sensitive to my voice.
Okay.
And so by the time I get home, I have to raise it a little bit like this. And,
Yeah.
hi, honey, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not with Chaz and Eli talking about shooting and rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
So I have to watch that. And
Yeah.
then if you think about it, men, you just outlined it very well. Men struggle with that infamous drive home. Doesn't matter what your job is, it's still stress.
Yeah.
The freeway, driving an hour, that's stress. And it's starting to become high risk.
Yes, it is.
So I'm very sensitive to that, right? But the point is, we're always stressed, and we get home and we're trying our best to cope with whatever the world gives us, or whatever we may have picked up along the way.
Yeah.
And we're usually wrong. So at my late age, I'm just realizing, and I won't phrase this very well, but we need a higher help, right? We need God's help.
Yeah.
Those problems that we have, whether it's stress with bills, or seeing a friend get hurt or killed, or having to hurt someone, we got to give that to the Lord and ask for help. Because if we keep trying to internalize it, it's never going to work.
No.
We're just like a bunch of big angry children.
Yeah.
That's what I realize at this point in life, is we really can't do it alone.
No, we cannot. Our pastor here, Pastor Bibb, said it in a great way. He said men need to be insulated and not isolated. And to expound on that is, Men need to be insulated. One, the Bible says iron sharpens iron, so
Yeah.
they need to be insulated with other good, godly men, not men that are going to be like, hey, do you want to go to the strip club on
Right.
Friday night? Those are not the men. If you're trying to walk a godly life,
Right.
those are not the men, okay? But those are the men that say, hey, God spoke to me this week, or I'm reading this portion in the Bible. Can we talk about it? Can we have a Bible study on it? Those are the type of men that you want to insulate yourself with. Well, on the flip side, he expounded on that isolation is you can be surrounded by people, but your thoughts are the only one that you're hearing.
Yeah, not good.
It's not good, and you internalize it. And I think men by default, and we can continue to go down this rabbit hole, but men by default, I'm sure you've seen it in law enforcement. Maybe you've even done it yourself if you care to share, where we see so much or we go through so much stress that it's almost a default to bury our feelings and
Sure.
bury what we've gone through because we may not know how to deal with it. And
Yeah.
that goes to the point of having a good father. Good fathers are supposed to train up their child, as the Bible said, train up your child in the way that they should go. And then when they are old, they are not depart. Part of that training is learning and teaching your kids, specifically your young boys, even your young girls, how to process their emotion and how to process what they're feeling. Because we all have emotion. It comes from God. There's nothing wrong with the emotion that we're feeling. But if we let our emotions just drive us, then that could end up in some very bad situations.
Absolutely. Emotions are a funny thing I'm learning. I used to believe just a couple of short years ago emotions were overrated and they were kind of useless. I questioned, well, what good are I see so many crimes
Yeah.
and so much sadness and sorrow because of emotions.
Yeah.
And I thought, how silly. Harness that
Yeah.
and be more stoic. Get with it. And now I realize that I'm trying to come through the other side of that sort of tunnel. I'm trying to learn what you just said very well about teaching the kids about emotions. Hey,
Yeah.
buddy, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You had a bad day today. Tell me about what happened, or how did that make you feel?
Yeah.
As men, we also need to show those emotions.
Yeah.
There's a time to cry.
Yeah.
And I get freaked out when I'm having these conversations, but the learned people that I'm around, they'll say, hey, that's actually healthy for you.
Yeah,
Because
it
that's a way to process that trauma,
Yeah.
That PTS stuff. It's just unprocessed emotions.
Yeah.
Well, how else are you going to do it? And with men, we try to go out and we'll use activities, physical activities, but we don't communicate.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a bunch of detectives together when we were young, and one guy was a good basketball player. He'd get us together. We'd get together for 3 hours and play basketball and go home exhausted. And it was great.
Yeah.
Not 5 words were spoken.
Yeah.
Not, hey, bro, how's the family doing or something.
Yeah.
So now my favorite part of our Bible study group is we do a prayer request, and that morphed into, hey, how was your week?
Yeah.
And we just take 5 minutes for each brother.
Yeah.
How was your week? And I'm real big on accountability. I crave it.
Yeah.
Everything from, I need help with nutrition. I need accountability for the gym.
Yeah.
Coach Tony, who you met,
Yeah.
he'll send me a picture from the gym and guilt me every morning. He's one of those freaks that get up at like 4 a.m.
Oh.
and he's at the gym at 5, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's like, hey, pay your dues, boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pay your dues. Well, I love that.
Yeah.
That's part of our
good man
persona
right there.
as men.
Yeah.
We crave accountability.
Yeah.
Well, so do kids.
Yeah, 100%. They, especially young kids and young boys, they crave accountability and structure.
Yeah.
And when things are sporadic and chaotic, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you've seen it firsthand, even kids who join those gangs very early on, because they saw nothing but chaos and inconsistency and instability very early on in their life, when they come to a situation where they're committing crimes or they're either going to the extreme of drive-bys, or they end up getting into prison or jail, where these situations are, it's nothing but high stress. It's nothing
Yeah.
but survival, and it's nothing but chaos. It's like that's the norm. But deep down inside, that was never supposed to be our norm.
Right.
That wasn't supposed to be that we're not supposed to be at high stress all the time.
Yeah, it's not normal. It's not.
No, it's not. So that being said, what are some of the things that you set up in place, or you had to work through your career to be able to, because we all have stress, you said it, we all have stress at some degree or level. Just driving here today, the I-17, what was going on there?
Absolutely.
So you're dealing with stress, and to the extreme of what you dealt with, what are some of the things that you set up, or some of the things that maybe even other people, maybe your wife or other people, helped you with, so that you so basically I'll say it to this extreme, is that stress didn't kill you.
Yeah, it nearly has. I still suffer from physical effects from years of that, and I have trouble reacting the way other folks would. If something happens where there's an accident or someone is hurt, there's been a couple of sad times. I had a friend that was a career-long firefighter.
Okay.
I won't mention his name because he's still active duty,
Sure.
but we had a personal situation. There was an older couple, and the wife went in for a routine procedure, and it didn't go well. She was dying, and so a lot of us friends, we had a very tight circle. We came to where he was. We were in the room, and my firefighter buddy had went to the airport to pick up family coming in from back east.
Yeah.
And he was racing the clock to try to get the family, because they said, we need him. She's going.
Yeah.
So I'm there physically holding my friend up from behind. I'm coaching him, telling him, deep breath, because he was going to faint.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was that moment. And I called my buddy to see where he was. I'm like, you got to get the family. Where are you?
Yeah.
And nicest guy in the world, but he was in his work mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, Roger that, and he was just not flippant at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
We love these people, but he doesn't process the way other people do, nor do I.
Sure.
And I saw that, and I thought, man, he's at work.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit us like I'm bringing this family to this death scene, and we're going to, to him, it was just a call.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did. I would imagine it's the same way maybe for doctors. They'll call it and then walk right out of the room.
Yeah.
They have to have coffee. They have to go to the next procedure.
Yeah.
They have to eat and go home. So I didn't cope very well those years. We learned from our counselors. There's starting to be a body of, information on this, where they call it like the garbage can. So I would take something that would happen. My friend's been shot, and we worked to save his life. So I wad that up and throw it in the garbage can.
Yeah.
And then we see a horrible vehicle accident or a court case and all the baggage that comes with that. Homicide cases last your whole life.
Wow.
They don't go away. You could be called on at any time to go testify, because those cases are forever.
Wow.
So you just keep wadding that up and put it in the garbage can.
Yeah.
And you don't take time to process that. So pretty soon the garbage can is overflowing.
Yeah.
The lid's off. It's putrid.
Yeah.
There's flies.
Yeah.
The stench is horrible. Now the entire house smells.
Yeah.
That's what happens with that stress or trauma if it's not processed. But honestly, the scientific community can give you some good pointers, but it's straight up the word.
Yeah.
I've started to feel a vast improvement since I've been going to Bible study.
That's awesome.
And I'll ask other men, what do you do for this? And they'll say, well, I messed up this week. I might have dropped a language bomb in front of my wife, or I raised my voice because of something that my daughter did. And I'm like, I like that accountability. And they'll talk about the challenges they're working on, but they'll put a scripture to go with it.
Yeah.
And I can't quote scripture. I'm nervous because I'm sort of a baby Christian, I guess, that way. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know that I would recommend everyone get help from the Word.
Yeah.
And it's all there.
Yeah.
It's got supernatural influences that can free us
Yeah.
from that kind of stuff. And it's as simple as maybe pulling over and saying, Lord, help me before I get home. How I can't deal with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of trying to be a man and close it all up,
Yeah.
because I don't want to pass that on to the next generation.
Yeah.
I want to cry when I need to cry, laugh when I should,
Mm-hmm.
not at inappropriate times, right?
Sure.
And I want to be human,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But we need that word. That's what I would fall back on.
Yeah. 100%. I even think about the garden. You know, when and let me digress. We're only human, and we make so many mistakes. Everybody. It doesn't matter what walk of life. You know, whether it's a small mistake or an extreme mistake. You know. But that does not mean that God does not want a relationship with us. Right. And I think the enemy twists, and his original plot that he did after going to the garden where Adam and Eve, you know, they ate of the fruit and then they went and hid in their shame. Mm-hmm. And the enemy will twist us to hide. I messed up. I did this. I did this. I did this. I did this. All week long, I've been messing up. All month long, I've been messing up.
Yeah.
I have been on this bad kick for years now. God doesn't want anything to do with me. And that's the furthest from the truth. Because in the garden, when Adam and Eve sinned for the first time, they went and they hid. Mm-hmm. But God came looking for them and says, Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
And he says, God, I was ashamed of my nakedness. But that nakedness, that being real and that being vulnerable with God is one of the best things that we can do. And what that looks like is exactly what you described, is just getting in our word and spending time with him and having that as that foundational kind of currency to our life, because being grounded in those principles of the word, you know, it's all throughout the Bible, and nothing that we go through. I heard somebody recently say, well, God doesn't understand my exact situation. Well, and there's nothing in the Bible about my exact situation. Well, there may not be something in the Bible about your exact situation, but there is a principle about what you're going through, and that's what we stand on, is the principles and the teachings of Jesus and the word of God. That is in there.
And I would add to that the only caveat I would add is we have to be around like-minded people that at least study the Bible, because that can go sideways. Yeah. Right now, my group and I, our Tranquilo ministry men's group, we're reading Revelation. Mm-hmm. And last night we went over chapter 10. There's a lot of ways that I could take that and add my imagination to it and have some epic cinematic display, but I don't understand, and I'm actually furthering a wrong message. Yeah. We talked about last night the large angel that appeared. One leg was on, one foot was on the land. He was so large, the other foot was on the sea. Yeah. Big angel with a little book. Yeah. And he held out the scroll and said, eat this. Imagine it if I don't have some biblical supervision, so to speak. In other words, get in a good church. Yeah. You need that. Yeah. I alone, sitting home and reading my Psalms and Proverbs is probably good. Mm-hmm. I can't mess that up, but I can't decipher what I need to decipher. So a lot of times it's good to just say, Eli, what do you get from this? Yeah. And talk to us, and it makes men communicate. Yeah. And Chaz, what did you get, or what is your Bible? What, King James Version. Yeah. Read us a passage from yours. Yeah. It sounds like Thor. Thou hast, thine, blah, blah, blah. And it's just a matter of how do we interpret this. Yeah. But like when we started to read Revelation, we made an agreement. Okay, brothers, we're just going to stick with the word. Yeah. As it's described. If we don't understand something, we just fall back on faith. Yeah. Some things we don't need to know, do we? Yeah. Just like at work, we had a chain of command. Some things you don't really need to know. Sure. Because faith is an active verb in our situation. Yeah. And we don't have to have all the answers right away. Yeah. But no, the foundation of faith. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Yeah. It's that word of God that builds your faith, that keeps you.
You know,
It
so
works.
it does. It 100% works. So to transition, but kind of stay on that topic. Now you got to a point in your career where you retired from active law enforcement, and now you are running TaxSafe, Arizona. What is TaxSafe, and what do they do? What do you do?
So I'll give you the website answer. Like TaxSafe is a group of individuals. So you'll see already my mindset. Right away we refer TaxSafe is not my company.
Yeah.
TaxSafe is a group of individuals,
Yeah.
civilian and law enforcement. So both. The guy brother Joel that just taught the CPR class here.
Yeah.
He's not law enforcement or fire. He's a civilian, and he did a great job. So he has a lot to offer. So it's that networking or that sense of teamwork and community that we bring together. Now, I do leverage my experience, the training and education the taxpayers provided for me.
Sure.
So thank you but my job is simply to be a servant and pass that on.
Yeah.
No different than I did at work. When I got ready to retire, it was just a fast merry-go-round. So to give you an idea, there were a couple of years there where we serviced over 800 or 900 violent felons in 1 year. So think of there's 52 work weeks in a year, right? 365 days, but those aren't business days. Even we had days off. So think of like the operational tempo. We were hitting houses before the sun would even come up, and we would hit them. We'd have 5 or 6 cases done by lunch.
Wow.
It was maddening. So imagine when I step off that spinning merry-go-round, I didn't have time to prep for retirement, and my wife and other people would say, well, study business and take classes. And Miss Diana's always right. But I said, I don't have time. I'll get whacked. I can't. I have to be 100% plugged in to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'll let the future take care of itself.
Sure.
We used to say tactically, you'd say, the van's on fire. We've got 3 people down, blah, blah, blah. And I go, Chaz, that's a problem for 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
We'll worry about that in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right now we're here.
Yeah.
So once I retired, Miss Diana, my wife, and I talked. We wanted to do something as a couple. We're best buddies.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do something we could do together.
Yeah.
We didn't know what that would look like. Any kind of business adventure would be fun for us as long as it was together.
Yeah.
But I have, like I always tell my clients at the range, I have only one usable skill as an adult male. It's very sad. I can't change the oil in my truck. I can't fix my air conditioner. I have just one usable skill.
It's a high-level skill, though.
I guess, depending on your perspective. So it's unique, right?
I'll give you that.
So we got together, and she is still teaching herself the admin part.
Yeah.
And so
That's awesome.
we take that life of service. The one thing I knew about my transition into, I don't like to use the term, civilian.
Sure.
We like to say private citizens.
Sure.
We're all private citizens. So I had to have service to others. That has to be my number one goal. And thank God, because when I'm teaching classes, that's all I think about is that feeling I get of servitude. And it's just, there's nothing like it when you get a group of people together and you see when the knowledge hits for the first time and they're like enlightened and you're teaching them a skill that they can use to protect their family.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And the rest of it will take care of itself, just like faith.
Yeah.
So we stay on mission that way. But we've got to finish that explanation, we've got our TaxSafe tribe. And our tribe is a membership subscription program, and we have about 25 or 30 tribe members. And these are alumni. Some of them that go to this church here have been with us since we started. We call them senior tribe. They're the ballers. Those are the ones we look to for counsel and advice. And even if I'm going to buy something for the company, like all this gear in this room, I'll go to the tribe, like I imagine the church does. You have elders, you have a board, and we'll say, okay, what do these goals look like for the next year?
Yeah.
But this is a private company.
Yeah.
And these people are like, wow, you really want to know what?
Yeah.
You're really involved. And I'll be like, absolutely. You've done real good at this.
Yeah.
So go teach this.
Yeah.
Let me help you. So this Sunday we have a steel match program, and there's a gentleman, the tribe member, that's teaching that, and he just does it as a way to serve.
That's awesome.
So my only job is to show up and provide the equipment and be responsible in case something goes wrong.
Sure.
But it's his show.
Sure.
So my version of leadership is, let me get out of your way.
Yeah.
A leader should be a servant
Yeah.
to those he's leading.
100%.
So my thing is, what is it you need to make this happen? You tell me and I'll get it done, and then I'll stay out of your way and let you succeed.
Yeah. 100%.
People see that and they're just like, wow, this is something a little bit special.
It's servant leadership.
Yeah.
It's servant
I guess
leadership.
it is, yeah.
And
in
that's
our
the
own
best
way.
type. It is. That's the best type of leadership. A leader is not somebody that necessarily is commanding, but a leader is somebody who is out in front. And what even that out in front looks like is sometimes, okay, this is what you need. Now let me turn around because I trust you.
Yeah.
To go ahead and finish the job and continue to move forward.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. And speaking to leaders, you'd be surprised what people are truly capable of when you give them enough room to succeed.
And fail.
Yeah.
We had one of my, and when you put things that way, it reveals so much to me. So two quick stories I'll credit to that. Richie. You know who you are, Richie, and Scott. Scott just retired. They were the kind of bosses when we got really busy. There was an operational tempo. We had a narcotic squad along with our gang squad, and this was the days 20 years ago of the cartels were on the rise. We first contacted them. We didn't realize what they were or what we were dealing with at first. But the attitude was the sergeant would make a call based on the information he had at that moment, and he would never fret over that. He would never stress over that. It was execute, execute, execute.
Yeah.
And if he failed, so be it.
Yeah.
So when that squad absorbed us detectives, he said, you guys are the gang enforcement guys. Go do your job.
Yeah.
If you break something or hurt someone, tell me. If I catch you sleeping at the park or being corrupt, I'll fire you. But go do gang stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Go do it.
Yeah.
You guys have more arrests than anybody in the PD. Go do that.
Yeah.
And I'd say, hey, we've got somebody holed up in a house. It's getting a little bit sketchy. I need a boss over here. He'd come right over.
Yeah.
And he would get in the back of the stack. And he wouldn't try to do our job. Imagine if you and I tried to do Eli's job.
Oh, it would not go good.
There'd be a blank screen, and I'd be making like a charcoal sketch.
This podcast would not even be released.
Right. So, and that was the examples of leadership that I learned.
Yeah.
Another one was a gentleman by the name of Brent. He's still there, but he was a civilian.
Yeah.
But he was the civilian equivalent of a commander.
Okay.
So he was right under the chief of police. He ran a big, large team of dispatchers and civilian personnel. They saw fit to put him in charge of our secret squirrel unit. So he came in, and he was not a cop. He wasn't a certified cop ever. So he's a mild-mannered civilian little man.
Yeah.
And I think he even had a pocket protector. He comes in, and he's like, my job, I don't need to know what you do.
Yeah.
And he briefed all of us alpha males and females. And he's like, I don't need to do your job. We're not going to waste a lot of time reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
But I have the chief's ear.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah.
So you tell me what you need, and it's my job to get it. And we were going to do a large case, a certain white supremacist organized crime network.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we need a Nextel network of phones. We need rental cars that we can switch out all the time. You know, we need this and that. And he's like, that's done. That's easy.
Yeah.
And we would stay late on a search warrant, and he would show up. He had his own vehicle. He drove a big Suburban.
Yeah.
Wasn't concerned about gas.
Yeah.
But he would show up in his personally owned vehicle after work. He didn't make overtime, and he'd bring pizzas and Gatorade.
Yeah.
And he was 100% servanthood.
Yeah.
And so that was Brent. And I would be ashamed of myself if I didn't pass that on.
Yeah.
We just don't know any different.
Yeah. True leaders want to model good leaders. They
Yeah.
they really do. When you can know a good leader, and you can say, you know what, I can get behind that. I've told, pastor is an example of that here. So many people in this church
Yeah.
are willing to get behind pastor because he's a great leader, and it's easy to follow good leaders. It really
You
is.
see, like when he popped his head into the CPR class,
Yeah.
he's just so humble. That's the first thing that disarms people is
Yeah.
you can see there's a lot of servanthood there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gravitate towards that. Sometimes it may not always be obvious. In my former career, everybody's wanting to be the alpha, but you had these people that would come up,
Yeah.
and big bosses would say, "Hey, I'm here behind you. What do you need?
Yeah.
Get your cuffs out. We're getting ready to kick in this door."
Yeah.
And he sits back, even though technically he's responsible for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he didn't stress,
Yeah.
which brings to mind something you said a little while ago. My biggest enemy is absolutely my own mind.
Yeah.
If it's not occupied with something,
Yeah.
boy, the enemy will just slip
Yeah.
right in.
Yeah.
Like maybe you have this. It seems like people that do a lot of stuff. I'll try to articulate this. We'll go and do a class, and it's a new class, and I give out my QR code, and we'll get these 5-star Google reviews, and people really love it. They regurgitate back the information, and it's just a love fest. It's wonderful. But then I'm driving home, and right away I'm thinking, well, that first joke fell flat.
Yeah.
That might not have been appropriate for that group.
Yeah.
And I didn't explain this very well,
Yeah.
and I dropped a curse word here.
Yeah.
So I start tearing myself down.
Yeah.
So by the time 30 minutes when I get home, I've already ruined my mood and myself.
Yeah.
When I had a perfectly, like, how much praise or reassurance should a person need?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's shameful because the minute I don't have some sort of outside influence, my mind will just start working against me.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of men deal with that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people deal with that too, and it's something that you have to force yourself to talk through, and you have to force yourself to, sometimes you got to give yourself reassurance, and you got to look at the good that's coming out of things instead of the bad, because sometimes, like you just said, the bad isn't even there. Sometimes the
Yeah.
bad is just something that you made up,
Yeah.
and it was, or there's a sense of excellence that you want to be at. There's a sense of, there's a standard that you want to hold yourself to. And if you feel that you fall below that standard, then you might beat yourself up a little bit, but it's something that you really just gotta work through. I fall short of that, a lot of times too, with preaching and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Here on the podcast, I'll go and I'm like, man, this and that and this and that. And honestly, a little bit of a remedy to that too is just getting back at it.
Yeah.
And doing it better the next time. I heard a pastor say the worst thing that a man, especially a leader, can be is indecisive. If you make a decision, this was the decision that I made in this moment.
Yeah.
This is what I choose to do in this moment, and I didn't like it. So the next time, let me not beat myself up over it. The next time, let me just go ahead and do better. Let me remember that time where I said, okay, I fell a little bit short. Let me improve on that.
Yeah, and I think that's good, and I agree with that. I'm working on that with my youngest grandson right now. I'm trying to create an environment where he can start to grow, and failure is just part of life.
Yes,
On the shooting range, if we're not failing, then we're not even training.
exactly.
I can go to the gym with you, and I'll try to stick with the exercises that I'm good at,
Yeah,
so I don't look bad in front of you. Or you might do something to lower down to me so you don't hurt me or embarrass me, but now you're just not even training. We'd be better off going and getting a cup of coffee or something. So we do that at the range. We'll push people to the point of failure.
Yeah,
And we'll actually say, okay, this is what we want.
yeah,
You might be able to shoot a little faster than Eli.
Yeah.
We have to push you to failure while bringing him up.
yeah.
And I realize that's the same thing with our spiritual life.
Yeah.
We're all at different levels, and sometimes we need to be brought up. Sometimes people need a bit of reality check.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself, man, that podcast, I really nailed it. I'm really good at this.
Mm.
I'm probably the best. If nobody corrects that,
Yeah.
we get down that rabbit hole. That's
Yeah.
why I kind of like an environment where that hammer will come in.
Yeah. God does not like the proud. He,
No.
he resists the proud, and he
Yeah.
gives grace to the humble. So it'd be in our best interest to remain humble
Yeah.
in everything that we do. But I love that analogy that you had, even to the point of I'm big on the gym and growing muscle, and I love it. And you reach the point of maximum growth when you are closer to failure than any other time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what. And I think that's a life analogy too. Is your best moments can be when you have pushed yourself to absolute failure and you have nothing left. You give it your all, and you'd be surprised at how far you can push yourself.
Yeah.
And then you would also be surprised at, okay, maybe I need to work a little bit more on here, or maybe I need to do a little bit better on here.
Yeah.
But the point of it all is growth. I
Yeah.
taught my sons at almost a baby stage a principle of when you fall down, you get back up.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what happens. You fall down, you get back up. And I think it started when they started walking and learning how to ride their bike, but I instilled it in them very, very, very young. And now when they're going through life experiences, they're in their early teens, 13 and 14 years old, getting into high school, really starting to get a first taste of life and
Yeah.
competition on the football field and, and kids at school and different things like that. And, oh, Dad, I didn't do good on this test. I said, okay, well, what do you do when you fall down? And they get mad at me like, Dad, no. I'm like, no, what do you do when you fall down? I get back up.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, that was a principle that I instilled in you early on because I knew that life was going to hit you at some point. But it's a principle that can last your entire lifetime.
Absolutely.
When you fall, you get back up. I want to take the last couple minutes here and speak about the church and the state of the church, and you from a law enforcement standpoint, from tax safe standpoint. Let's give a big reality check to churches right now. Maybe churches that are not speaking to pop, but speaking to churches that churches are a target right now.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. Churches are a target by extremists. Churches are a target by people that want to do harm. They're a target by other religious groups. I'll say it here. Al Qaeda just sent out a mass communication this past week. Today is September 27th, and they sent out a mass communication earlier this week to all of their cells that said, we want you to start attacking synagogues and churches in Europe, in the U.S. This isn't a reality that we had to deal with 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
This is a new reality, and the reality of it is that groups of people coming together, like a church,
Yeah.
are becoming a target. What does the church need to do from your perspective in order to still maintain, be Christ-centered? We're
Yeah.
still the church. We still want to welcome people in. We still want to save souls. We still want people to come to Christ. But there is a protectiveness that has to come with it nowadays,
Absolutely.
and it has to be there.
So, a couple of thoughts there. Churches in general are soft targets.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense for a shooter or someone bent on destruction to go target a police station or a military base.
Yeah.
But hospitals, churches, those are soft targets, and that's what bad guys want.
Yeah.
So POP, and I won't reveal too much, tactics or tradecraft, but POP should absolutely be a model for all of the other POP churches. What's the larger umbrella for the Pentecostals?
The UPCI.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they should be a model here. You should be a model for not only the facility, but the mindset
Yeah.
of being protectors. I told Sister Connie and Rob the same thing when we did training here years ago. It just takes a little bit of dedication, and again, that leadership for the senior leadership in the church to say,
Yeah.
"You're right. I've heard what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've heard your concerns. Go forth and make it happen."
Yeah.
Like on Star Trek, make it so. So, I feel anytime we, as a community, gather a group of people together, automatically we have a responsibility to protect them,
Yes.
just like your family at home.
Yes.
If we take a family trip or a field trip on a bus or a vacation on an airplane, we have a responsibility to protect that group.
Yes.
When I went to a contract job in the Philippines, I was responsible for several teams of adults that would go out into the seedy underbelly in these places that we were at. As a security director,
Yeah.
my last job of the night was to go around and do a room check on everybody
Yeah.
and make sure all of my 2-person teams were there, they were in bed, and everybody was accounted for.
Yeah.
Because people can slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Not our agency, but there was a SWAT team in Florida many, many years ago that had an operator that was shot. He fell down between 2 cars.
Oh, wow.
His wound was devastating. He wasn't able to broadcast on the radio. He was left there for a while.
Wow.
There's got to be a head count in and out,
Yeah.
as we've discussed here many times. So churches have to believe it's okay to take the first steps,
Yeah.
get some consulting done. We will make it happen. Money does not have to be an issue.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at, go to the local police department. If they don't have time, reach out to someone that has contacts for the consulting part of it. But we have to start target hardening, and we're going to do some training here very soon. And one of your favorite things is going to be, we talk about, can you guess where most of these shooting incidents, these violent attacks, where does this start? Where does it physically start?
Where does it physically
Yeah,
start?
where does it physically start? Like if someone were to end up in the sanctuary here with a firearm or something, where does that attack start?
Not sure.
Outside in the parking lot. 90% of these violent attacks can be and are a lot of times encountered in the parking lot.
Okay.
So remember recently, I believe the church was in Minneapolis,
Yeah. Yeah.
where there was a parking lot safety person saw the bad guy coming in. And I believe he engaged him. I don't know the details with the firearm.
Yeah.
Another church security person came in his F-150
Yep.
and made him into a speed bump.
Yep.
And then I think a third security person came out and gave him some love.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to happen is those targets can be identified. They leave home with a violent plan in mind.
Yeah.
And they'll drive here, and then they'll wait for that vulnerable time and try to get in amongst the flock. So if we can protect them, not just churches, but schools,
Yeah.
your own home.
Yeah.
This is why we do lights out in our yard
Yeah.
and alarm signs
Yeah.
and police patrols, right? We want to stop that action on the outside of our perimeter.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be an armed response team out in the parking lot. It could be as simple as one old middle-aged guy like me with a radio in my truck with the air conditioning going.
Yeah.
Hey, got a guy with a big duster jacket walking in, lockdown, lockdown, lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you guys do your job in here.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be, it can be one person or a team,
Yeah.
but we have to create this culture with churches where it's okay to speak up and get help or recruit talent from within
Yeah.
to at least harden that target.
Yeah.
But I don't know if some of it is people are afraid of liability.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it's either pay now or pay later.
Yeah. Lives are priceless.
You're running the odds,
Yeah.
right? Schools used to deal with this. If you think about it, it's not a proper course of action, but if you have a corporation or a church or a school, whatever it is, you can either pay a bunch of money and get training and invest time and be consistent, or you can let all that go and just roll the dice.
Yeah.
The problem with rolling the dice is we're having more shootings than ever.
Yeah.
So the dice game is turning to be not good odds.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Right.
You don't want to roll the dice with people's lives.
No, morally we cannot, right?
Yeah.
We have a responsibility. So it doesn't take much is what I would get the word out to these churches and schools. It doesn't take much, just a couple of vigilant
Yeah.
people that have a basic reporting system.
Yeah.
Some type of an armed response would be nice. It doesn't always have to even be an armed response.
Yeah.
You know, I get 3 or 4 guys in the room that look like you.
Yeah.
and I come in a little tiny room like this,
Yeah.
that's not going to be a good day,
No, it's not.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's very simple. It's just
Yeah.
we have to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
and we have to just prepare for it.
Yeah, I think you said something that was so key, and I've had that mindset as well. And I know there's leaders out there that do have that mindset. It is a church's obligation to protect its people. It is the pastors and the leaders' obligation to cover their people, not just spiritually, because the same mindset that a person coming to do harm, waking up that morning deciding I'm going to go to a church on Sunday morning to harm people.
Yeah.
The congregation does not have that mindset.
No.
The congregation has a mindset of I'm going to get up and I'm going to go have a great time at church today, and I'm going to come home safely.
What am I going to wear?
What am I going to wear?
Where are we going to go to lunch afterwards?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get the kids together.
Yeah.
Get how do they look? All of those normal things. But when these abnormal situations happen because they are becoming more frequent, training like TaxSafe provides, information, communication, knowledge of it can stop those abnormal situations.
Absolutely.
And can truly save people's lives. It's okay to have the Word of God, which is the sword of the Spirit, and other stuff too.
There's passages that talk about the guardians
Yeah.
of the church, the sentinels that guard the church. There's biblical precedence for this, and
Yeah.
there's biblical precedence for our responsibility to protect the flock.
Yes.
You just mentioned about the family. That was a nice little insight. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
So you have a mom, for example. She's got 10 jobs.
Yeah.
Her job is not to be a commando and protect the church.
Yeah.
She's worried about juice boxes,
Yeah.
spare underwear,
Yep.
keeping them well behaved, logistics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there just needs to be a few guardians, but it can be as simple as basic awareness. I always tell our clients, shooting and combatives and driving, that's all great stuff.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, situational awareness is the best kung fu.
Yes.
I can counter anything that I'll run up against other than maybe a nuclear bomb with situational awareness. Don't be in the wrong place at a wrong time.
Yeah.
Like Phoenix and every metro area, we'll hear things about other countries that are bad. So is Phoenix at midnight.
Yeah.
So I would tell kids, your kids' age, don't be out at midnight.
Yeah.
Nothing good happens. What are a couple of things that are open at 2 a.m?
A liquor store.
A liquor store, an ER, and the jail. There's nothing redeemable out there of any value.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything productive, and it sounds old-fashioned, but if you look at all this large-scale violence that's happened in these large cities,
Yeah.
there's no parenting going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the parents don't want to admit that, and they want to blame the police.
Everything starts at home.
Everything does,
Yeah.
and this is our home when we're here, so we just need to harden that target a little bit and encourage those conversations. And the pastor doesn't need to run it and be the head commando.
No.
He can say, Chaz, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then maybe report back at our next meeting or just ask, hey, how are we doing? Do you have everything you need?
Yeah.
Leadership.
Yeah.
Do you have everything you need?
Yeah.
I think we do. We got the radios this month, and we're looking good. Turley ran over a guy with his F-150, and, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. So, Dave, I want to wrap this up. I want to give you, I don't want to wrap this up. This has been good, but I know we got to get to the rest of your day. I know you got some things you got to do. I want to give you the last 90 seconds or so to speak to some people, and maybe some people that have gone through some extremes of life as you have, and, are pursuing God, trying to build a relationship with God, and really just wanting to be, a better version of themselves than maybe they were yesterday. If that person was in front of us right now, what would you say to that person?
We see you. We hear you. We love you. If you need help, I'll be a little bit firm with this. In our former occupation, we would say, if you, Chaz, need help, unknown person out there, if you need help, it's your responsibility to seek out help.
Yeah.
People are there to help you. There's resources everywhere, officially and unofficially. But if you're hurting or suffering, you have a responsibility to speak up.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of holding yourself accountable.
Yeah.
We can hug you if you need a hug. We can box you if you need to be boxed. But if you're hurting, reach out.
Yeah.
Get help. Go to your local church. Talk to someone.
Yeah.
We've got to fall back on love, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The commando stuff is awesome, and I'm happy to serve and teach people. But the best defense we have is love and stay in God's word.
Yeah.
We got to try to forego anger. For men, watch out for that road rage.
Yeah.
We got to learn to control our emotional state.
Yeah.
And be a little bit more disciplined. For me and everyone that I know, that comes from the gospel.
Yeah.
Get into the Bible, get into a Bible-based church, find some good people, check with POP. They'll steer you in the right direction.
Amen. Well, you heard it. That's usually my outro, but I don't got to say it. Listen, get into a good church. Share this episode with somebody you know, somebody who's going to bless it. Tune in, and we'll see you next time.